It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan. All right, true believers, welcome into episode 142 of the Border War. I'm BG. I'm here in studio with the TanMan. This is going to be our NBA preview show. We'll focus a little bit on the Hornets, and then we'll move on to the league as a whole. We'll be picking our Rookie of the Year, MVP of the league, and then our playoffs and finals picks.
Spoiler alert, the Rookie of the Year, I think, has already been voted on.
You know what? Well, I went somewhere different because I just, again,
I'm interested to hear it.
Let's skip the Twitter stuff. People can find us if they want to.
At the Border War.
At the Border
War. At
BG
_Border War.
Okay.
At Tar Heel TanMan.
Doesn't that feel better than TanMan 3264? Doesn't that feel better?
I find it, you're the one that had the problem.
I did. Quick update, top of the sixth. The Braves up 4-3 over the Cardinals. If you're listening live, of course, if you're listening live, you're probably watching it.
I don't know. There were some radio hosts on our way over to the studio today that felt the need to describe every pitch.
I'll put it this way, and we probably should address this on the air. We're taking the Braves out of our box because while TanMan and I are Braves fans, we just can't watch enough of the games to feel like we really know what we're talking about. And unlike some people, we don't talk about things when we don't know what we're talking about.
Listen, the people have spoken. They don't listen to our baseball talk.
No, the baseball shows don't do as well.
So we're going to move on.
Long straw. So we're the box is smaller than it once was.
Just like my circle. Circle is small. Your circle almost got bigger, but that's a different story. That's an off-the-air story. Maybe we'll tell it one day on our new podcast.
It would have to be on the new podcast.
Not on this podcast.
No.
Oh, BG. All right, listen. I know that we have avoided, I guess you'd say, the Charlotte Hornets. We've got some theories on
we kicked them out of our box last year.
On how the season's going to go. But listen, it's a new season, right? A new season brings eternal optimism. They had a preseason game yesterday. They lost to the Celtics by a point. So the Boston Celtics, as of today, are only 1 point better than the Charlotte Hornets.
Well,
that's a huge win.
To start the season last year, the Milwaukee Bucks were only 1 point better than the Charlotte Hornets. I remember breaking that whole game down on the air, man. We were both excited. I thought it was a big loss. I was like, that was a missed opportunity.
Things went sideways
in a hurry,
pretty rapidly. So, BG,
I think by week 3 we were like, "What's happening here?"
It went sideways quick. So again, the Hornets, they're getting started here. They got started last night. They'll have another preseason game in a couple of days. But it's a exciting season in the NBA. But we're going to start with the Hornets. One word to describe your thoughts on the upcoming Charlotte Hornets season.
I think the most positive word I can think of is patience. I think you have to trust that Kupchak and Borrego have some kind of plan that clearly didn't involve the best point guard in the NBA. I think you if you're going, because here's the thing, you don't have to be a Charlotte Hornets fan. So if you are going to stay on this train, then you had better trust in them because they have not yet done anything that makes us question all that. I mean, we talked about what should have been done with Kemba 2 or 3 years ago if this was what was going to happen, but that wasn't these guys.
Well, as I said, look, the Kemba thing is over and done with now. You can't go back and change any of that. So I think a lot of Hornets fans are still holding on to how that whole thing ended. Like, you got to let that go, man. It's done.
I think that, one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about that I'm sort of confused about is Jeremy Lamb. I mean, he was their second best scorer, and he's gone too. I mean, this really could be a terrible basketball team. Well, you said it last year. This could be the worst team in the league. They really could be.
It's
so if you're wondering, then why are you talking about them? We're not going to spend all season talking about them.
We might.
We will. TanMan showing up in, and I can't make this stuff up, guys.
No, man. I got my
Charlotte Hornets overalls on today.
Yeah, I got my Hornets. What'd you call them? Not overalls.
Ski bibs.
Ski bibs, man. I got my Hornets gear on. Look, my word for the upcoming Hornets season is long. It's going to be
Well, that's the other side of patience, isn't it?
It's going to be a long, long season. And look, the Charlotte Hornets have never really been good on these West Coast road trips, right? They open up the season with 2 home games, Chicago and Minnesota. Both teams who are kind of on that same level, not playoff teams.
Not playoff teams.
But with the Bulls, I feel like the Bulls are on a path. They
have a plan.
They have a plan. The Timberwolves, Ryan Saunders.
Boy, 2 years ago, man, we were all over these guys.
Look, Tom Thibodeau and his abrasive coaching style.
Well, I think it's his practice style that's wearing on people.
Ryan Saunders, Flip Saunders' son, he's in as the new head coach. Jimmy Butler got dealt midseason. I think the Timberwolves team is going to be one that is going to be a little bit better. And then they embark on that West Coast road trip. When you come home, you get the Pacers, you get the Celtics, you get the Pelicans, you get the I think there's a chance that it's 3 weeks to a month before the Charlotte Hornets get a win.
What's the over/under?
I don't know.
20?
I was going to ask you later on, but since you brought it up, I was going to set the number. Last year, the New York Knicks were the worst team in the league. They had 17 wins, more or less than 17 wins. Since you brought it up, we'll go ahead and hit it on it. I'm going to say more, but just a little bit because the Knicks, they weren't trying last year,
right?
And they won 17 games, not trying. And then I think you had a few teams that were like at 20, 21. I think
that's somewhere around.
I think somewhere around 21 or 22 sounds good.
I think the real over/under is probably 20. Yeah, and so that's around where
I think a 60-loss season is certainly within reason.
Well, they could win 20 and lose 62. So,
right.
I mean, there you go.
But no, my word is long. So with that said, you preach patience. I'm telling you it's going to be a long season. I want to watch basketball. I want to watch the Charlotte Hornets. I want to follow the team and be a fan. So give me something.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Give me something that you want.
I've got an answer for you. I think you have to. I mean, okay. I mean, I'll say you pick a guy like Malik Monk. Okay, because with Lamb exiting, man, he has got to step up. He needs to have a huge season. Last year, I said it was MKG. I think he's still probably your 6th man, right? I don't think anything has changed from that regard.
I don't see any upside to him starting.
So, I mean, and he does well coming off the bench. Well, I would say maybe his defense, but it doesn't justify the lack of scoring. I think you have to look at a guy like Malik Monk because Malik Monk has shown us flashes of stardom. There have been times when I've said, man, that kid looks different on the court. And then there have been times when the organization didn't seem all in on him. And then there are times when he has certainly not seemed all in on the organization, like this summer when he said, no thanks. I'm not going to Vegas. I'm just going to stay at the house. But when you look at insider reports from Charlotte, they talk about him being an extremely hard worker. So I think this is the year that we need to see Malik Monk, or you can, look, Miles Bridges, pick somebody. Pick a young player and let's gauge their measurables, right? From not during the season, but from last year. Are they improving? Are they showing signs of having something to build around?
Well, look, they've got so many young guys, and it felt like they had these young pieces, and then they've got these really older, overpaid pieces. There wasn't a lot in the middle, and these older guys are clogging up minutes for this stuff.
No question.
Now, Kemba Walker is out. You mentioned Jeremy Lamb is out. Malik Monk was one of the guys I said, listen, this is put up or shut up time. I couldn't have said it any better than you did. It's time to stop talking about potential. And I know Malik Monk is probably 20, 21 years old. He's still a young guy. But listen, you've been in the league. This is going to be your third year now. You turned down an opportunity to go out to the summer league and at least get a little bit of run with some of these guys.
And again,
with that said, he
has not been a wash. I mean, this is a kid. He had 100+ 3-pointers last year, but I need to see consistency.
All right. The other thing that I'm watching for with the Hornets is a deal that has gotten a lot of negative blowback, and that's the Terry Rozier deal.
Well, I think it's the context.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with Terry Rozier.
Is Terry Rozier making a lot of money? Yeah. Is he making more money than he would have gotten somewhere else? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm all about knowing who you are, knowing your role, for lack of a better term, in the sports landscape. The Hornets are not going to be a free agent destination ever, okay? Kevin Durant's, Kawhi Leonard's, listen, maybe Steph Curry way down the road takes a meeting just because he's from there. Outside of somebody like that, you're not getting meetings with any of these guys.
Maybe he even retires there if he plays too long.
Maybe. But to get you're going to have to overpay to get players. And I think that's part of what they did with bringing in Terry Rozier. So I'm watching to see how he performs with a bigger role. We got a little glimpse of that 2 years ago in the playoffs when he was with Boston and Kyrie Irving got hurt. He played extremely well. Kyrie comes back last year.
If you get rid of Kemba in your head first and say, I'm starting from a team that does not have a point guard, then you have a whole different viewpoint. It's when you start trying to...
When you go, we traded Kemba Walker for Terry Rozier.
No, you didn't.
No, you were losing him anyway.
Terry Rozier is a good player. He's a great defender. And everything I've read about the guy's work ethic, I love it. Yeah. And I think he's the kind of guy you want in this locker room. Now, if you're yelling at me and say, well, what about Kemba? Well, this is not about Kemba. This is, again...
No, that's over.
Kemba was
Stop
gone.
talking about Kemba.
Kemba was gone. So who do we replace it with? Do we put something... We need somebody in the locker room to bring these young guys along. And I think this was a locker room decision from Borrego and Kupchak, not only a basketball decision.
Well, here's the thing. I like Devontae Graham, but Devontae Graham's a backup point guard in this league, right? So if you didn't want Terry Rozier, then what do you want to do? You want to go out and get somebody, like I heard Chris Paul's name got thrown around a lot. Why?
Well, you weren't.
Why?
But you weren't going to even get a guy like Patrick Beverly. You weren't going to get these guys.
Yeah, but that's just it. You go and get somebody who was middle of the road at their best career and is on the backside. Kind of like what Minnesota was dealing with Jeff Teague. A guy that's on the back end of his career that was just pretty good most of the time. Or do you want a young guy like Terry Rozier where we don't really know? We don't really know what his ceiling is, and in a couple years, if he hadn't hit it, guess what? You walk away. You're not going to be any good. You're not going to win a bunch of games during these next 2 or 3 years anyway. So I'm following Terry Rozier. Like I said, I'm really excited to see what he does.
But definitely, it is a season where you have to adjust what you're watching for.
Yes.
It's not about wins and losses.
It is not about wins and losses for the Hornets this year, unfortunately. Moving on to the league as a whole, BG, give me a couple things you're watching for, a couple things that have piqued your interest, just big picture around the league. Well, I think this is going to be fantastic.
The first storyline I've got is about as big picture as you can get, and that's that this league is wide open for the first time in for flipping ever. And TanMan is showing me his notes that I have stolen his answer, yes. but it is true. We talked about it at the end of free agency last year, how excited both of us were to come into a league where 4 or 5 teams in the East might have a crack at an NBA title. That's a huge development. The West, nastier than ever,
my gosh.
but not top heavy, middle heavy.
Yeah, no, look,
lots of guys with 3 great players, but no more than that.
The West is absolutely loaded.
To
the point that of 15 teams in the West, I think there are 12 teams that you could say they're going to make the playoffs, and I'd be like, okay,
I had a hard time, and I'm going to go some controversial places with my seedings here in a minute. And a second story I've got, just real quick, and then you can get back to your bigger point. I'm really interested in the Clippers right now. I think that there's a strong case to be made that while the Clippers might not be as interesting as the Lakers, they're going to be a better team than the Lakers. The idea that someone in Los Angeles could win an NBA title, that's fascinating to me.
No, I think
more so than maybe the Cleveland Browns trumps that, but the Clippers winning a world title, second only to the Cleveland Browns, I think would just be like an atom bomb going off in the sports world.
Go back to the parity issue. Right now, I see 7 teams today that I think could win an NBA title, and that's not counting Brooklyn this year without Kevin Durant, who's not going to play all year long.
So that leaves you 3 in the East, I guess.
I've got 3 in the East again, and that's not counting how deep a run that you think.
So I'm assuming that means you think the process might have worked.
Yeah, that's not counting how deep a run you think Indiana could possibly make if Victor Oladipo comes back healthy. That's also not counting the Golden State Warriors, who are going to be without Klay Thompson for most of the year. I still come up with 7 teams that I feel like could legitimately win an NBA title, which is amazing considering where we've been for the last 9 years.
Like, we were laughing about this time last year.
Oh, well, you
certainly 2 years ago, we were going ahead and picking who was going to win the finals over whom in how many games. And we were right.
I remember sitting here. Heck, it might have been the first year we were doing the podcast.
Both of the first years,
where we were like, listen. We are not picking the Cavaliers and Warriors.
Right.
So go pick something.
Let's start from there.
We had a disclaimer. We realize this is wrong because this is not going to happen, but we're not picking the Cavs and Warriors.
We also broke down a Triple G fight on that show, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Listen, we did a lot of things. We threw a lot of stuff at the wall. Most of it didn't stick, but here we are. So listen, that's it. Some predictions, BG. I said at the top of the show, Rookie of the Year, MVP voting. We're going to hit it. I think the I think the Rookie of the Year voting.
Well, then let's do that rule again. Let's go with somebody else.
Okay.
Let's go. I mean, I know you probably didn't think that, but I mean, nobody wants to hear us say Zion.
Well, listen, that's it. I think it'll be Zion.
But we're assuming he's not going to struggle some. I mean, this is a basketball decision.
Well, here's the thing. I think that he'll have his nights where he doesn't, where he looks human.
Sure.
But the nights that he doesn't look like he's human are gonna trump. No pun intended. They're gonna trump those nights.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of To me, it's just a matter of how he takes care of his body over the course of 82 games.
No question.
He's got a thick build.
Sure.
He's a big kid. He's got a thick body. And if he's kind of like Booger McFarland. If he doesn't take care of that body just right, he could put on weight and not in the good kind. I mean, he's already like the second heaviest player in the NBA right now. So if he takes care of his body right, and I have full confidence that the staff down in New Orleans, David Griffin, Alvin Gentry, listen, that is the best possible place he could have landed. I mean, that was a home run for that kid. I think they're going to this is a long-term investment for them, and they're going to make sure that, listen, if he needs a night off, or if he needs a week off, he's going to be okay.
As much press as he's going to get, the Saints still run that town.
Right.
And so he's not going to be.
For now.
Give me a Rookie of the Year that's not Zion Williamson.
Well, listen, I think, just off the top of my head, I think that Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter are interesting picks. I think they might be overshadowed a little bit with Trae Young down in Atlanta and Cam Reddish. I'm looking to a guy like Kobe White. He's going to be given the ball from day one in Chicago. Again, I think they're on a path. They've got Zach LaVine. They've got Lauri Markkanen. They've got the second-year man out of Duke and Wendell Carter. So they got a lot of good young pieces. I think the potential is there for him to take it and run like we saw at North Carolina this past year. But I don't know if he'll have the opportunity because he's got so many of them other players around him capable of shouldering that load. But those are a few guys that I think I would put on my short list.
I'm going to go with R.J. Barrett because I think that the Knicks are so devoid of scorers that he's going to get as many points as he wants. And he didn't have that at Duke. Right? He couldn't just do what he wanted. It was the Zion show.
He was playing in the shadow of Zion.
And I've talked about this on the show before, but look at this kid's size and his measurables and his frame. Man, he's made for this league.
You're right.
He is made for this league. And I just think in New York, he's going to eat up that spotlight, and I think he's going to score a lot of meaningless points, but a lot of points.
So that's the only thing that scares me about him is, are they going to win enough ball games for him? Because they're not going to give Rookie of the Year to a team that wins 18 games.
True enough.
Can they win enough for R.J. Barrett to win it?
Well, again,
I think
we both think Zion's going to win it, so right. I'm just
right. But
let's look at somebody else.
All right. MVP, BG. I'm going with the big man out in LA. I'm not talking Kawhi Leonard. I think Anthony Davis wins the MVP this year. Did you catch any of the game the other night with the Warriors?
He looked unstoppable.
Oh my gosh! And here's the thing: I'm watching that game, and I'm thinking to myself, you remember when LeBron went to Miami? That first year he was in Miami, and everybody hated him.
Yeah.
Every arena he went to, he got booed. Like, they were the villains of the league. I watched that the other night. I watched Anthony Davis, and I thought, that guy, like, for as good as he has been in his career.
And we've always known he was boxed up down there. We've always known it.
For as good as he's been in New Orleans in his career, like, I just have a feeling we're getting ready to see
something else.
Pissed off Anthony Davis at another level. And if we get that, but it is going to be Katie bar the door, because that was a bad man. And listen, you could tell the Lakers took that a lot more seriously than the Warriors did. But
that's
he sure looked like he had another gear, and that's a scary place to be.
Well, I'm staying on the same team, and it's strange that this is going out on a limb these days, but I'm going with LeBron James because I think he's got one great season left in him, and I think we're going to see it. And I think you're going to see LeBron play at a very high level. I think he spent all last year revving up. And I think
he got like 2 extra months of rest that he didn't have to do.
His last year in Cleveland, I think, is still frustrating to him. Those gifs you see of him yelling at guys on the court, like, what are you doing?
The all-time best is the one where J.R. Smith messed up. And I saw one in LeBron's, he's got his hands out, he's yelling at him. And it was like, what do you mean you don't know what time the dinner is? It was in the church bulletin for 3 weeks.
Right. So I think that I think you may be right that your man Anthony Davis deserves it more. But I think this is going to be sort of LeBron's farewell tour. I think the Lakers are going to be awfully good. And I think that the press is going to anoint King James one more time.
See, I find out because he should have won like 4 more awards. He should have been MVP for like 8 straight years.
Again,
but
that's not going to hurt him
LeBron
this year.
Fatigue.
That's not going to hurt him this year because he feels like a dark horse.
Right.
And that's going to be a unique thing for him. And I think the whole league's going to be really excited to hate LeBron James for the right reasons again.
Yeah, he should. I don't know what he's got. I think he's got 4. He should have won, like I said, 7 or 8 years in a row. I mean, come on.
No question.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So we got that out of the way. So let's get to our playoff picks. I'm not going to
start at the bottom.
We're not going to break down all the division by division because I don't think you really care how we think the Phoenix Suns are going to be.
We're not even sure that there are divisions anymore.
Here's a shocker: the Phoenix Suns are going to stink. So let's move on. Let's just skip right past them. You want to start in the East or you want to start in the West?
Let's start in the East.
We'll start in the East. Starting at the bottom. My 8th seed, I've got the Atlanta Hawks in the 8th seed. They're in that Southeast Division where I said last year, listen, I think around 500 is going to win it. Orlando wins it at 42-40. You've got the Miami Heat adding Jimmy Butler.
42-40 has been the 8 seed's record a bunch of times in the East.
The Heat.
I'm not sure. 40-42 has been the 8 seed a couple of times too.
It has, just a couple years ago, I think. But you've got the Heat added Jimmy Butler. I've got the Heat at 7. They win the division, but not by much. I've got the Atlanta Hawks sneaking in at number 8. In 6, I've got the Raptors. I think Toronto is going to take a step back with losing Kawhi Leonard.
You think?
Shocker. But they've still got some really good pieces. Pascal Siakam is still there. Marc Gasol, who did a fantastic job on Joel Embiid in that playoff series, is there along with Kyle Lowry. So they've still got a lot of holdover guys from that championship run. At 5, I've got Indiana. I want to put him a little higher, but I think Victor Oladipo's going to miss some time early. So he should come back at some point. I don't know if it'll be enough to track down some of these top 4 teams. In 4th, I've got the Nets. Listen, they basically traded out D'Angelo Russell for Kyrie Irving. and they still have got Joe Harris, and they've still got Karis LeVert, and they've
No
still
question.
got Jared Allen. Oh, and they added DeAndre Jordan too. The Nets are going to be really good.
It's going to be interesting to see Jordan on a team where he actually fits.
I mentioned,
Where he can play defense and rebound, and no one's going to be screaming at him, score.
And with them, I'm interested to see how Jared Allen does, because he was a guy who spent a year at Texas, so he's always been one of these guys who's younger than everybody, but he's been in the league for a few years.
Sure.
He's carved out a nice little niche up in Brooklyn on the defensive end. And how adding DeAndre Jordan to that, like, does it step on his toes? And, I don't know. So, I mean, you should see the Nets, how they do. Next year, obviously, they're going to add Kevin Durant, and they're going to jump right into the smack dab middle of the NBA title picture. In third place, I've got the Boston Celtics. Addition by subtraction. If you give me a choice, Kemba Walker or Kyrie Irving, right now I'm taking Kemba Walker. He jumps into a situation where he's got Jaylen Brown around him and Jason Tatum around him and a lot of these good young pieces. If Gordon Hayward, now that he's played a full season after that injury, does he get back closer to the guy we saw in Utah? If he does, Boston's going to be a dangerous team. In second place, I've got the Bucks. They've got some, basically they ran it back. This is going to be a season where, Giannis Antetokounmpo, I hope I said that fast enough so you didn't notice I butchered it. He's going to have to do the whole, is he going to sign an extension thing all year long? Basically, how much do you believe in this
Because, again,
team?
there's nothing about him that
feels like L.A. or
be
New York or anything like that.
In Milwaukee, though. I mean, I think we sometimes still get stuck in the old NBA.
I think he fits perfectly.
But you know what I'm saying? We get stuck in the old NBA.
Yeah.
Where you had to market. You don't need to market yourself.
You don't need to market yourself now. But then, look, they were 2 wins away. They were up 2 games to none on Toronto in the Eastern Conference
Finals. I think I know
Finals.
who you have at 1.
And at 1, I've got the Philadelphia 76ers.
I figured you had them in the playoffs, and you hadn't mentioned them.
Hadn't mentioned them yet. Look, Jimmy Butler is out. Ben Simmons' jumper looks somewhat fixed, and that's the thing. He doesn't have to become Steph Curry.
No, he just needs to be where you don't have to ignore him on offense.
He just has to be comfortable taking the shot. That's it. And
he needs to take some pressure off Embiid so Embiid is not dealing with 82 games of having 2 guys defend him all night long because Ben Simmons won't shoot the ball outside of a 4-foot layup.
Which is insane.
It is insane.
But that's it. I've got the 76ers as my top spot in the East.
Do me a favor and sort of track our differences here as I think we only have one team on mine that didn't show up on yours, and I think I don't have the Hawks, and I have the Pistons at 8.
Okay.
All right. Then I've got the Raptors at 7. I think you had them at 6. Is that right?
Yeah.
I have the Heat at 6, so I just switched those
swapped
2.
them.
And we're probably talking about 1 to 2 wins there.
Yeah.
Right. I've got the Pacers at 5, same as you. I also have the Nets at 4. Might be the most interesting team in the whole NBA right now to actually watch. When you look at the amount of difference on their roster, that's a different basketball team.
Yeah.
I really could see the Nets. I think they have an outside shot at being the 1 seed.
Well,
I think they could take off. If that works, that it could be nasty. But I think, like normal, we've got 5, 6, 7, and 8 in a group, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a group.
They went 42-40 last year, and they, like I said, they traded Russell for Kyrie Irving. I think 48 or 49 wins is well within reach for Brooklyn.
No question. I've got the Celtics at 3. I think that's where you have them. Again, what we don't know about Kemba Walker right now is what he's going to look like with a ton of talent around him. We haven't seen that yet. Now, here's the thing.
I think it's going to be amazing, but that's just me.
But I tell you what could happen, too. He could have learned things in Charlotte when he had to carry that don't work anymore. We'll see.
We'll see.
I've got the 76ers at 2. And until somebody proves to me that the Milwaukee Bucks don't consistently play the best basketball in the East, I'm leaving them at 1.
All right. So who you got? So basically our East is pretty similar. I've got the Hawks taking a jump up. You've got the Pistons hanging around at the bottom. Go out west. Start in the West. You start us off in the West.
All right. At the bottom, and I had a hard time deciding between about 6 teams down here, but I'm going to go with the Mavericks at 8.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Trailblazers at 7. Unfortunately, Portland, They just seem stuck there. I don't think they'll have the playoff run they had this past season. I love Lillard, but I think he is up against his glass ceiling.
Yeah, I think we've seen the best that he's got, the best they're going to be.
At 6, I've got the continually surprising Denver Nuggets. At 5, I've got the Utah Jazz. At 4, I have the Rockets. At 3, I've got the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
Like you said, they don't have Klay Thompson for most of the year. We thought he would be gone. As it turns out, that's not going to be the case. But from a basketball standpoint, it probably will be mostly the case. At number 2, I've got the LA Lakers. And I have the Clippers coming in with the number 1 seed in the West. I love what I think Kawhi and Paul George, and I think Patrick Beverly he's such a gritty, unselfish point guard that having a guy like Kemba or having a guy who's a scorer would be kind of one of those things where it looks great on paper but doesn't really work that well on the court. Mm-hmm. Those two guys are going to have monster years, man, because of Beverly.
I've got the Spurs at 8. I know that's not.
And I tell you, man, I went back and looked 3 times. I'm like, are you seriously leaving the Spurs off the playoffs? But yeah, I think this is the year it happens.
I know it's not a sexy pick. I think 22 straight years that Popovich has taken the Spurs into the playoffs.
But it's going to end.
It's going to end at some point. I just didn't have the cojones to pull the trigger on it now. But some teams that I think are gonna, could take that spot are going to be just on the outside, maybe. One of them is your 8 seed, the Mavericks. I think the Pelicans are going to be right there in that mix.
I had the Pelicans sort of in my 9 spot, tied in my head with the Spurs. So
and I think that this is the year that Sacramento finally takes a jump into that playoff discussion.
It would be interesting to see
finally. Late into the season. I think they got up to around 500 last year. It seemed like 38, 39 wins for the Kings. Last year,
I would like to see them move out of last place tied with the Seattle Mariners for professional franchise that literally no one cares about.
Oh God! But I do. I'm high on the Kings. I think Sacramento.
You have been for about 3 years now.
Well, I say this is the time it's starting to pay off. All those young guys that they've taken over the years. I think they're going to knock on the door, but the West is just
loaded,
flat loaded, man. And then from there on, the next couple, it looks a lot like yours. I've got Portland at 7. Again, I'm with you. I think they've kind of hit the glass ceiling. We've kind of seen Portland go as far as they're going to go with that group. They went through and they made a lot of changes this past year. A lot of the role players that went there, that made that run, they're now gone. They're bringing Hassan Whiteside, and I don't know that anybody has ever gotten better by having Hassan Whiteside on their team.
But can you think of a player with the upside he looked like he had 6 years ago that has dropped off the side
when he came on, it was kind of at the end of that Miami Heat run with LeBron and Wade and Bosh, and everybody thought,
and I'm sure he benefited some from that.
Oh yeah, and he got paid crazy dollars off of that. And then once they were all gone, he was kind of exposed as just being all right
and really undisciplined.
Yes, and a bad locker room guy. So again, I don't think they got better by adding him. In 6, I've got Denver, and I think this is important to note. I think between 3 and 6, you might be talking about 3 games difference. I think you could put these in any order.
Jazz and the Nuggets both.
Excuse me. I've got the Warriors in 6. Excuse me.
Oh my word!
I've got the I was looking at.
I felt weird about putting them at 3, but you're okay.
No. I'm sorry. I was looking at your list that I wrote down.
Yeah.
I've got Golden State at 6.
Wow, man.
Listen,
I know. I mean, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I just couldn't do that.
They might get Klay Thompson back. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to play at all this year. Again, are they better than the Lakers? Are they better than the Clippers? Probably not. So I think they're going to shut Klay down. I think that they're going to because listen, 5 straight finals. You've seen it how it takes a toll on LeBron's body, and nobody takes care of his body better than him. 5 straight finals. I think they're going to really be careful with how they manage Steph Curry and Draymond Green this season. And then it wouldn't shock me if they moved D'Angelo Russell at some point during the season. So I think there's enough talent there with Curry and Green and some of the other role players to keep them in the playoffs. I just don't know that they're better than any of the other teams ahead of them. At 5, I've got Denver. At 4, I've got Utah. And see, now you're kind of in that could possibly win an NBA title mix. I think adding Mike Conley is huge to go along with Donovan Mitchell, just the running mate he needs. In 3rd, I've got Houston. I think the Westbrook-James Harden pairing is going to go off without a hitch most nights. I think it's going to work fine.
Well, I mean, they obviously played together.
They played together. So. Harden, P.J. Tucker. Houston wants to stand out there and shoot threes. That's not Westbrook's game, but what that's going to do is that's going to open things up for Westbrook to get to the basket over and over and over again. I just wonder
if they both fit through the locker room door these days. That's the question I've got more so than the basketball.
I think, in my opinion, I think it works better. I think it's going to work better than the Chris Paul, James Harden.
And I don't bring that stuff up except in the NBA, because I think in the NBA that's the one sport where that stuff actually can matter maybe more than the games do.
Yeah, because
that's the stuff the press wants to talk about.
In 2nd, I've got the Clippers. You want to flip a coin between the Clippers and Lakers, I'm okay with that. But I think part of the deal, like this is going to be the thing going forward with Kawhi Leonard. He's going to take a lot of games off. And throughout the season, he's going to manage the minutes, and I think he's going to play somewhere around 60 games, probably 65 games. And, I think the Lakers, they are going to be the villain every night out. I think they're going to embrace being that villain.
Yep.
They're a bad bunch. I've got the Lakers as the top seed out west.
And I'm thinking that the difference is in both sides. I think the 76ers end up being a better team at the end. I think the Lakers end up being a better team at the end. But I think that a lot of victories early on for the Bucks and the Clippers, as soon as the season starts, keeps them 4 or 5 games ahead. But as you'll see in a minute, I don't think that's going to matter very much.
My NBA Finals, I am going to take the top seed in the East, Philadelphia, and I'm going to take the Clippers to win a playoff series because when it comes down to when it gets down to brass tacks, I think the Clippers and Lakers, again, flip a coin. But when we get down to a 7-game series, you got Pat Beverly, you got Montrezl Harrell, you've got Kawhi Leonard, you've got Paul George, you've got all these guys, right? This team has an 8 seed last year without Paul George and without Kawhi Leonard. Took the Warriors to 6 games and gave them fits. Good luck scoring on that bunch. And I've got the LA Clippers over Philadelphia for the NBA title.
As do I.
Hey!
Yep. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think that the Clippers, I think they're going to be a huge story. And I think it's going to be great for the NBA, for a franchise that has just been dead in the water for so long, minus that little glimpse that they had 5-6 seasons ago where it really just fell flat almost as soon as it started. And it'll be really interesting to see how Lakers fans handle that.
And a Western Conference Finals, LA versus LA, listen, the Knicks stink. They're going to stink for a long time. The NBA is kind of just, they need to get off that. LA versus LA in the Western Conference Finals, that's the next best thing, in my opinion.
Well, how long is it going to be before it's going to be possible to have LA versus LA in the actual finals?
I don't think it's
crazy
of an idea.
I don't think it's that crazy either. And I think more and more, I think he realizes the optics of these divisions and these things don't make
they've
any
already
sense.
Basically said a few years ago, they came out, it used to be, if the Miami Heat win their division and they're 42-40, they're going to be the 3 seed because they won the division, right? That's not the case anymore. They did away with that a few years ago. They make travel a big deal. Look, man, they wait 3 days in between each game, and you're in the same city.
Yeah.
But stop it. Yeah, stop it. Okay, you're an NBA team. Did you see the Pacers? Did you see the little video of the Pacers playing the other day? Don't tell me about travel. Okay, go look at that thing. It's I expected the Lakers. The Pacers are just kind of a middle of the road, mid-market team. Blew me away. Don't tell me about travel. And then finally, go over to the WNBA. Guess what they've been doing?
Riding a bus, probably.
But their playoffs. They do the whole cross country thing. Okay,
yeah.
Connecticut. I think Connecticut played LA in the semifinals. Don't tell me.
Well, it's like
Don't tell me that Boston and L.A. in a 7-game series is too much travel.
Well,
Shut up,
it's
man.
like big time college football telling you that a massive playoff field wouldn't work when there literally is one. I mean, happening
In
while
every
they say
other
it.
level.
Yeah,
Thank you.
like-
That's it for episode 142. Listen, a lot of agreement here on the upcoming NBA season, and we will probably both be wrong. The Atlanta Hawks will probably win the NBA title now that we have
That is not
anointed the LA Clippers
That
and
is
Lakers.
not
You can follow us again on Twitter at The Border War. Email the show at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com. This one is in the books. We are out of here. See you next week. I don't think the Hornets are going to win it, though.
What are the Vegas odds on that? Is it even a number, or does it say no?
Probably just no. And laughs at you.